Good morning, everyone. This is Calvin Roberts with Falcon Insurance Agency. Today we are meeting with Andrew Zamboroski, Modern Mortgage. Andrew, good morning. Very nice to speak with you, sir.
Good morning, Calvin. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. Today I have a couple questions for you that I hear from my clients all the time in regard to the lending process. Can I get away with this? Will this affect me? Will it make financing hard down the line? So I have a couple questions I'd love to ask you that I always hear from my clients, and I'm curious if there are a couple questions you might hear about insurance from your clients that you might, want to check in on.
Yeah, all the time. Insurance is such a pivotal part of the process. Um, to your credit, you're such a good partner in that. Give you a little
Likewise.
bit of a plug there. But yeah, hopefully as we go back and forth, we can clear up some of those gaps for both the lending side and the insurance side for our clients.
Awesome. Well, without any further ado, my first question is, how does deeding my investment property to an LLC slash an entity affect financing?
So the first primary way that affects your financing is for a conventional mortgage. It would have to go to an individual. Um, a lot of people will kind of do a quick claim deed after the fact, and there's some nuances there. I'm not a real estate attorney or a CPA, so I try to stay out of that advisement territory. But the good part is there are many other options if you wanted to keep it in an LLC or have the mortgage directly originated to your LLC or whatever entity type you're working with, depending on your structure. Um, there's various DSCR programs, so debt service coverage ratio programs that are more asset based than a conventional mortgage that will allow you to originate that into your entity. There's also some commercial programs available. Um, they're all relatively similar. They are going to focus on the property itself, ensure that it supports itself, and then they look to you as the guarantor, your creditworthiness to ensure that they're appropriately meeting the risk tolerance for their own money or their investors that are going to securitize and purchase that mortgage.
Very nice, very nice. So you have options for both the individually deeded owner as well as someone that's already moved it over to an LLC or the
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. So
cool.
it kind of allows you to be a little more flexible than having to go back and forth with a quick claim deed or
Play around with
so.
all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. The less the better.
Now, another question I hear all the time is, are portfolio loans available on single family rentals? I
So
have
yeah,
maybe 20 single families and I want to pull the equity out so I can go buy an apartment.
so yes, they are. And we actually do these all the time. We can actually do a portfolio loan with just two properties.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty standard terms. We actually go down to a $50,000 loan amount
Mm-hmm.
uh, per property. So as long as your properties are in the ballpark of $75,000 in value, we could do two or more in a portfolio loan. Um, a lot of times it can be much easier than having to individually sign underwrite for each property. You can save you on some title costs and things of that nature that people really love. They're especially great for purchases. So one of our kind of unicorn-like products, I call it that, just because it's so unique, is we actually have a portfolio product. If the properties meet the specifications, there's more than five of them, you can get up to 85% LTV across the whole portfolio, which is super uncommon and
Yeah.
unique, and gives you a competitive edge if you're looking to, take on an additional five or more doors. So I've had someone use that product to purchase 26 homes in Michigan recently, and it rapidly expanded his portfolio quickly, and he's now flourishing. So
I mean, that's a nice, unique option I haven't heard of anyone else having. It really allows you to go in and scale up without throwing down too much of your own capital on each location. So that's
yeah,
a nice way to ramp up quickly.
yeah, very low cost. So in that product, it's usually 1% origination across the board. So
Very cool. Another question I am hearing all the time, especially in the last couple months, how have interest rate changes affected everything?
So the main effect is you really have to have a better spread on what you're buying, right? You could get away with, slightly overpaying at 3 or 4% interest, but now that we're at high fives, sixes, or even sevens on some of our DSCR products, depending on your credit score, it really squeezes those margins. So more than ever, you really need to get a good deal.
Hmm.
What we've kind of seen in the past 4 months is a shift away from turnkey rentals and more folks using the BRRRR method, or just doing, standard fix and flip type scenarios. We do offer fix and flip financing, so being able to be on both sides of that coin, whether or not you plan to keep the property, but guiding you through that process, um, just to compete in this ever shifting market.
Hmm. And I can attest to Andrew being extremely knowledgeable on fix and flips. My clients have turned to him for, God, like 50 projects over the last year on fix and flips, and they've always absolutely raved about your responsiveness, your ease to work with, and just overall pleasure to work with. They have nothing but kind things to say about you.
Well, I definitely appreciate that, and I hope we kind of see some sort of normalcy in the market. I know it's starting to soften and purchase prices are coming down a bit, but hopefully we can all survive and continue to thrive despite the volatility.
It's looking up.
A few rough months for us all, I think, from February till like late April. So
Cool.
the
Well,
market shift was pretty catastrophic.
I'm wondering if there are any questions that you hear from your clients about insurance. I might be able to help
Yeah,
answer.
absolutely. Especially for my first time flippers, if you could just go into the different nuances on how insurance on a flip or a bird differs from that of a turnkey rental.
Mhm. So your turnkey rental is going to be priced fairly comparably to, you know, homeowners insurance for a single family rental. Usually, a little bit less, let's say maybe 75% of what the cost may be on a homeowner's policy. And that's due to, the tenant having renter's insurance that would respond if, you know, there was a fire that was their fault. That there are things like that that help to control the costs associated with having a tenant in the property. When there is not the tenant in the property, the chances of loss and the chances of big loss go up. So you'll want to make sure that you have a policy that is specifically rated for renovation or vacancy, because if you don't, you will find that you're in a good position to not find coverage. Could
Hmm.
find that your claim is denied because, the home's not occupied, which is something that they're going to materially look for if that claim ever does come in.
Okay, yeah, that was a good depiction. I appreciate that. One thing I'll say that you've done an incredible job with for our flip related clients that have opted to use you for insurance, your speed and excellence has been really top notch. As you know, in the flip market, it's so competitive to jump on a property and jump on it quickly. So your response time is really pivotal. You've done an excellent job with all of our clients and getting, a policy turned out timely, not only for them, but for us on the lending side to ensure that everything goes smoothly. So,
Thank you. I appreciate your kind words, and I try to make it a not painful process. I know no one ever wakes up in the morning and thinks, I want to go buy insurance today. But I
yeah,
try to make it so you just are calling your buddy Cal. It's not some big, scary, cold, surgical process. It's really not that
well, not
bad.
at all. I think that it's reflected with how highly all of your clients regard you compared to any other insurance, agency I've worked with.
Likewise for yourself, I have heard, I mean, just to attest to it, every client that I've sent to you has ended up being a repeat buyer, and they ended up financing 3, 4, 5 projects over the course of, the first 6, 12 months. So that speaks to how quickly you respond, how accurately you respond, and just overall how on top of it you are compared to the competition.
Well, I think we all you and I both kind of work under the relationship model where we're all about people and fostering that relationship long term versus one or two particular transactions. So
Hmm.
that's one of the things I respect most about you.
Likewise, likewise.
Another question I get often is if someone does hold their property in an LLC, how does that affect their insurance? Do they get the insurance in the name of the LLC? Is that are they listed as an insured? Can you go into that a little bit, especially for folks putting a property in an LLC for the first time? I know that can be a really confusing component.
Absolutely.
That
So there are a few ways that you can tackle the LLC. If it's early stage, maybe you just have 1 to 3 or 4 family rentals, you're just starting off, you can usually get away with keeping it on personal lines paper, so not going over to a commercial insurance policy. And then on that policy, you extend coverage to the entity via additional insured endorsement. So let's say 123 Main Street is the deeded owner of a given property. You would endorse coverage for 123 Main LLC. That way, if a lawsuit is brought against that entity, the entity also finds coverage. And if, there's that fire loss and the claim check is cut, they cut the check to the entity to keep everything straight from an accounting and tax legal perspective. So I have a couple different ways that we can extend coverage to the entity, but as long as it's described on the policy, that's really the key that I'm looking for.
awesome. Yeah, thanks. That was a great explanation. And to your credit, I know that even if you had no knowledge of insurance at all, which I have sent you clients, just starting out, or maybe they don't even have a primary residence. You definitely guided them through the process and explained and found the best product for them.
Thank
To
you.
your credit, usually at the lowest price on the market, also, which is also um, something astounding in what you do. So,
I leave no stone unturned.
no, you do. You do a great job with your due diligence. So,
Thank you.
finding the best insurer out there for the client at the best price.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And, I have no shortage of kind words to say about you and the level of quality and diligence and just service that you bring to everything that you do. So I would encourage everyone watching, if you're at all curious, book a phone call with Andrew or myself, and we'll see what we can do for you.
Yeah, awesome. I would
Awesome.
love that. I do have one last question.
Hmm.
I get this a lot for short-term rentals. Everyone, the kind of keyword that always pops up is an umbrella policy.
Hmm.
If they should utilize that for their rentals. Can you go into that a little bit for us?
So I believe that in the investor community, the term umbrella is frequently understood. I see it used in the context of a master policy sometimes, where instead of having 20 different policies for your 20 different rental locations, you have one big policy with one renewal date. So
Hmm.
that's one common usage of the word umbrella that doesn't always match with the product that is being described, but is a frequent misunderstanding. So I would encourage everyone who is considering, do I need an umbrella, to ask themselves, do I have enough liability coverage? Are my liability limits where I want them to be if that nightmare claim comes in? A tenant fire resulting in death for which we're deemed negligent. That is where your personal umbrella will protect you. It's a liability policy that goes above and beyond your home, your rentals, your boat, your motorcycle, all the different things that you have in play. That way,
Hmm.
if, God forbid, there is that tenant death lawsuit, which it's nasty to think about, but at scale, these things do happen. That's why we buy
Right.
insurance, you know. Um, the personal umbrella would extend liability coverage above your rentals, above your auto, above your personal home, That way, if that $3 million judgment is granted to, the Z's party in this example,
Hmm.
you aren't going to lose everything that you've spent the last 20 years working tirelessly to build. So this will keep all of the equity in your LLCs and any other assets you have. It makes them much more difficult to get into. Anything's possible, sure, but if you have a $5 million umbrella, good luck.
Yeah.
It's kind of like digging a moat around your assets.
I know that's comforting for folks. They spend so much time building a portfolio over so many years to know that it's properly protected. Um, not everyone realizes the importance of that. When they do, it's important to have the right agent like yourself by their side to guide them through that. So
Thank you.
I guess to my clients out there, if you are, thinking of an umbrella policy and you're not sure of the nuances, reaching out to Kelvin would be the best first start.
Thank you.
Go over those options.
I'd love to be a resource for anyone watching. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think that answers all of my questions for today. Do you have anything else you'd like to go over real quick?
No, those are primarily the main things that I get questions on. And thank you for such expanded answers.
Well, thank you for
I think-
speaking with me again today and answering all these questions. I'll make sure to include your email in the description, so if anyone has further questions or wants to book an intro call with Andrew or anything like that, that will be in the bio. And if you'd like to speak with myself, my contact information will be there as well. I'd love to set up an intro call.
Yeah, awesome. I know you and I are on the same page. We're always available to help people.
Working hard.
Yeah, exactly. It's what keeps us motivated and keeps us going. So.
Love it. Well, I hope you have a great weekend. Thank you again.
You too. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. We'll talk soon.